Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage General Retired Will Fraser.
Well, thank you very much. Everybody enjoy dinner? Nothing like, I've had many a family-style dinner. But when I was growing up and we had family-style dinner, we're lucky if 2 plates showed up on the table. I wasn't sure when the number of plates were going to stop. It was a lot of food, but boy, it was good, and I greatly appreciate the Renaissance here, the staff, and all their hard work to deliver that. MSEC is delighted to have with us tonight Admiral Retired James Stavridis. He served as the 16th Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. And following his distinguished military career, he was the Dean at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. Today, Admiral Stavridis is an operating executive of the Carlyle Group. He's an accomplished author and contributor for Time Magazine and a chief international security analyst for NBC News. Given his background and his doctoral pursuits in international relations, Admiral Stavridis has considerable experience with the strategic demands of world security, as well as the challenges that military families face as the nation strives to meet the demands on the world stage. And we know those are really tremendous demands. Here to provide some tools, experiences, and thoughts, please give a warm welcome to Admiral James Stavridis.
Well done. Thank you. Well, good evening, or as General Fraser would say, howdy. Please don't say howdy back. I'd really appreciate that. First and foremost, I do want to thank my very good friend, General Will Fraser, Dr. Mary Keller, for inviting me. It's wonderful to be here. After an introduction like that, Supreme Allied Commando of NATO, people often say, when they actually see me, I thought you'd be taller. And then they often say, well, if you're really cool, Stavridis, why were you not a Navy jet pilot like General Fraser was a Air Force bomber jet pilot? And, truth be told, I really wanted to be a Navy fighter pilot, like Goose and Maverick. Unfortunately, when I was a young boy, a military child, I had a terrible experience at an airport, really traumatic, that made aviation difficult for me. Next slide. Next slide. I know you guys can do this. There you go. So, in reality, I actually, next slide, began life as a military junior, just like all of the young children that inspire the families here tonight. That's my mother and father on the left, Colonel of Marines, George Stavridis, my mother, Shirley. You could see I loved those uniforms early on in my life and career. And as you would expect in this world of military families, next slide, I ended up with one of my own. And upper left, myself in my incarnation as an admiral, that's my beautiful wife, Laura, who's here tonight. And to my right, to the left of the photograph, is my daughter, Julia. Our NROTC at Georgetown, served as a Navy nurse. She is here with us tonight. And my daughter, Christina. And that photograph on the right is taken in 1993 as I am headed out to sea on a cruiser. And that's my oldest daughter, Christina, waving Daddy goodbye. And I was gone for 8 months on that cruise. And like it says, keep calm, I'm a military child. What we discovered was that organizations like this have enormous impact on these military families. So I want to begin by simply saying thank you to this organization. Give yourselves a round of applause tonight. And I also want to say howdy to all of the military and students who are here tonight. And here's an example from my career. When I was over at NATO, we got to know the daughter of one of our senior enlisted advisors. And that daughter went on to college here in the United States. She came back from NATO. And she is today herself an educator, a teacher in Jacksonville, Florida. So there is an ongoing strain in this military education that goes generation to generation to generation. And I want to, again, say thank you to this fine organization. So, after dinner speaking is an art, not a science, and we're going to keep this pretty short. But what I'd like to talk about tonight are some of the tools of leadership. Because at the end of the day, what an organization like this imparts on these young men and women as they flow through this educational system is the ability to think for themselves. And I want to very quickly sketch several tools for leaders that I think apply at every stage of life. And I'm going to begin with the number one tool that every leader should have in his or her backpack. And you could think of a number of things that it might be, but I think the most important thing that a good leader has is, we're going to click through a couple pictures here, is right there. It's the ability to listen. Good leaders are listeners. Look at that photograph. This is not Photoshop. This is an actual Belgian air defense system in the 1930s. That officer is listening for incoming aircraft. Quite innovative for the time. I put it here as metaphor because good leaders are good listeners. They listen to their subordinates. They listen to their peers, a surprisingly rich source of advice. They listen to their seniors. They also listen to people with whom they may have disagreements. They listen with open hearts. That doesn't mean they capitulate in argument, but it does mean that they are willing to listen. I would put that at the absolute top for any leader. What else are leaders? Well, we are in a room full of educators tonight, and I applaud you. So often people say to me, Admiral, thank you for your service. I turn that around to all who are involved in education in this magnificent country. To all the educators in the room, I say thank you for your service to this nation. Please give them a round of applause. The second great tool of any leader is education. This is the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, where I spent 5 years as an educator in higher ed, and I'm proud of that. But what I want to impart to you tonight is the importance, and I hope you communicate it to the young students and to your children, which is this. Education at these institutions and at DOD schools around the world and at our own schools here in the United States, education can take a student to a certain point. But ultimately, we all own our education. We own it. And that means that your education only begins, truly, on the day you graduate from an institution. So the second great tool of leaders, after listening, is a simple one. It's reading. It is reading. It is finding your way to books, to magazines, to the great world that exists outside our own personal intellect. It is opening yourself to ideas. Here are some books, nonfiction, I've been reading lately, as well as The Economist, an unbiased source of news, 180 years old, published weekly, disentangled from the day-to-day frenzy of 24/7 news. Read some books. Read magazines like The Economist. And by the way, read some fiction along the way. Here are some novels that can help illuminate this complicated world we're in. You want to understand what's happening on the U.S.-Mexican border? Check out the novel, The Border, by Don Winslow, about the way that narcotics drives so much of those challenges. You want to understand the maddening, crazed world of Kim Jong-un? Throw away that CIA report, upper left, read The Orphan Master's Son, which won the National Book Award, a novel about Pyongyang. It's like Charles Dickens goes to North Korea and writes a book about it. It's extraordinary. You want to understand the mind of Vladimir Putin? Top center, check out Palace of Treason by Jason Matthews. The point is, read. Good leaders are readers. And it's not just nonfiction of the day and not just contemporary fiction, it's some classics. You want to understand what it is like to live in an oppressive, authoritarian world? Check out Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. Forget the Netflix series. Read the book. You want to understand what it's like to be a woman in 15th century Spanish Empire? Read Inés of My Soul by Isabel Allende. Want to understand what a battle is truly like? Get inside it. Read Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield. Point is, leaders are listeners and leaders are readers because they avoid the arrogance of the sense that I know it all. They're open to other ideas. What else do leaders do? So education, reading. Number 3 on my list is right here. It's innovation. Good leaders are innovators. Stephen Jobs said the difference between followers and leaders is the ability to innovate. And innovation can be as small as a Post-it. It can be as big as the moonshot that we celebrate this week. By the way, we have a NASA administrator in our midst, General Chip Bolden. Please give him a round of applause. And innovation can be as crazy as the idea of putting airplanes on ships. Who thought of that? Yet today, can we imagine global security without the ability of our president to ask, where are the carriers? What can they do for us? All of that is innovation. And of course, if you look at the screens, this is kind of what we think of when we think of military innovation, right? It's drones and hypersonic missiles and artificial intelligence. Let me give you a different kind of innovation to make the point. When I was commander of U.S. Southern Command, I had a problem. And my problem was that in this world to the south, there is a certain suspicion of the U.S. military in Latin America and the Caribbean. Why is that? Well, perhaps because we've invaded many of those countries over the years. They have a long memory. So I was whining about that to my staff, and a brilliant young woman, Sarah Nagelman, said to me, well, you know, Admiral, instead of sending only the military missions down there, how about if we do some health clinics, sports clinics, Newsflash, they're crazy about baseball in the Caribbean, the north part of South America and Central America. So if you look at that photograph, you see a lot of young boys. You see a handful of young men. These are Army, Navy, and Air Force, Marine Corps, captains and majors and sergeants and corporals who were exceptional baseball players. We found them throughout Southern Command. We went to Major League Baseball, got the uniforms and the bats and the baseballs, went to Transcom, which General Frazier used to lead, and we flew down these military sports clinics. We did parallel ones with young women, track and field. That's innovation. It's taking a completely different approach to how you create an impression of our country. And I'll give you one other example of it, and it's from Afghanistan. Flash forward from Southcom. Now I'm commander of NATO. I'm the Supreme Allied Commander, and again, I have a problem. Now my problem is I've got to train Afghan soldiers. These are Afghan soldiers. I've got to train them to fight a counterinsurgency. To do that, I need them to be able to read. They have to be able to read maps, to read instructions, to read what's written on the rifles that we're issuing them. But none of them could read. Afghanistan in this time was largely illiterate. So look at that photograph. What are they doing? They're reading. They're reading books. Why is that? Because this is a photograph of literacy training. Ambassador Richard Holbrooke, when I was done whining to him about my problem, said, Stavridis, why don't you teach them to read? To this room, I say, why don't you educate them? And so we did. We set up NATO literacy training. We brought in non-governmental organizations, and we taught them to read. 6-month program, read at a 3rd grade level. And let me tell you something about Afghanistan. If you are a literary person, if you are literate, you take a pen. You see this pen I'm holding up? You take a pen and you put it in your pocket so others can see it and know that you are literate. When they graduate from this program, at the graduation ceremonies, and I've been there, I've done this, we give them a pen. They put it in their pocket. You should see the look on their face. This is the most lasting thing we will do in Afghanistan. It is literacy training. That's innovation. And are there guns in that picture? Hell yeah. We're teaching them to fight. They have to fight in order to save their country from the Taliban, and I think they will. There's a lot of discouragement about Afghanistan, but I think we're headed toward a negotiated settlement, and if we achieve it, it will be because we have enabled, educated, trained these Afghans to do what needs to be done. That's innovation. Innovation is hits and misses. You're going to miss a lot more than you're going to hit. You have to put down the roots through your organization. You have to reward the innovators, and that reward can be as small as a Post-it on their computer. It can be as big as a life-changing promotion, but you have to reward the innovators. Good leaders do that. And I'll close on innovation with one other example from my time as Southern Command. Frequently, we would catch one of these. Now, you're looking at that and you're thinking, yeah, it's some high-tech U.S. Navy vessel. This is a drug runner submarine. It was built in the jungle of Colombia by the cartels. When we caught this particular one, it had 3 tons of cocaine in it. And when we caught it, I said to my staff in Miami, I want that thing parked right in front of my headquarters. And my staff said, oh, Admiral, great idea. It's like a trophy of war. No, no. I wanted it there so that every day when thousands of people drove up to that headquarters, they would look at it and say, our opponents are innovators. The cartels are smart. 21st century warfare is brain on brain. And I wanted my team to recognize that our opponents were smart. That's an example we have to follow. So, leaders, they listen, they're educated, and they read, and they're innovators. What else? Fourth, leaders are communicators. And if I ask this audience to imagine communication, most of you would come up with bottom left, megaphone, microphone. No. Communication is the big image on that slide. Communication is a bridge. It goes both ways. It is not transmission. And to illustrate it, behold the jellyfish. I love jellyfish. They are, in addition to providing you the brain supplement Prevagen, did you ever wonder why jellyfish are in Prevagen? The answer is jellyfish have more neural cells, nerve cells in their bodies by body mass than anything else on the planet Earth. That's how they know where they are in the water. Jellyfish sense the sea in which they swim. That's what communicators do before they pick up the pen. Communicators also do this before they pick up the pen to write the message. They consider alignment in their organization. Good communicators know they can listen and learn from others. Upper left, Steve Jobs was a master innovator, but he might be the best communicator in the history of business. Read his book before you pick up the pen. Only after you sense the sea you're swimming in, only after you read and learn from others, only after you consider alignment, then you get to pick up the pen. And good leaders know they have to be in this world as well. Now you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, retired admiral, these are shipping lanes. No. Are these airplane routes? No. Are these fiber optic cables under the ocean? Good guess, no. There are too many. Only 240 cables carry the entire internet. So what is this? This is Facebook. The brighter the white, the higher the concentration of Facebook user. The tell, if you're a poker player, is that China is dark, because China holds all of those social networks back, because that's data, the new oil. Good leaders operate in this space. They are unafraid of this. And that's the good news. 2.2 billion people on Facebook, 1 billion people on Instagram. These are the greatest bridges for communication ever built. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. I'm showing you the command and control network of the Islamic State. This is where they are recruiting, proselytizing, and conducting operations. Easter bombings in Sri Lanka, 250 dead. We'd already taken away all of the territory of the Islamic State. That's their territory. We've got to be there to communicate. And you know, sometimes I say that and people say, yeah, Admiral, you're right. It's a war of ideas. Not quite. It's a marketplace of ideas. We have to compete. We should not be so arrogant that we think our values are instantly accepted. They are not. We have to communicate in this world. And what are our values? Democracy, liberty, freedom of speech, freedom of education, gender equality, racial equality. We execute them imperfectly, but they are the right ideas, and we need to move them at scale. And by the way, we need to move them one-on-one. This is me in a former life, Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. I'm here with my opposite number, the Supreme Commander of the Russian Armed Forces, General Nikolai Makarov. I always liked General Makarov. As you can see, he's a man of normal height. This was actually a very important meeting. We were discussing submarines operating in the Arctic, trying to keep them from bumping into each other. And at the end of the meeting, my boss, Secretary of Defense Bob Gates, best boss I ever had, called me up and said, "Stavridis, how did the meeting go with General Makarov?" I said, "Sir, it was fabulous. We saw everything eye to eye." My point, and I do have a point, is that you've got to be in this world. You got to move and communicate at scale, but personal contact is still vital. Good leaders know both. What else do good leaders do? They collaborate. They build teams, effective teams that care about each other. And I thought about an image for this, and a lot of people told me, yeah, you need 8 guys rowing, one of those shells in the Olympics. Now, if you really think about collaboration in the real world where we all live, it's not like 8 people doing the exact same thing over and over again. Real teamwork, real collaboration looks like this. It's messy. These young ladies are collaborating, they're drafting, they're moving up, they're moving back. There's a lot of activity inside that peloton. People fall down. It's messy. But good leaders know that in the messiness of collaboration and teamwork come the greatest ideas. And sometimes it's structured alliances like NATO. Sometimes it's coalitions. This is the coalition against the Islamic State. 77 nations are in this. And sometimes it comes with non-traditional partners. You know, when you think about allies, partners, and friends of the United States, we think of NATO, we think of these partners. How about India? I would argue in this 21st century, an unconventional but vitally important partner for the United States is going to be India. This is the Golden Temple of Amritsar, sacred to the Sikh faith. In the elections in India last month, 860 million people voted. When President Bush went to India, he said, "I bring greetings from the world's oldest democracy to the world's largest democracy." We turn out just over 100 million people in our national elections. India is a massive democracy emerging. And the point is, as we look for allies, partners, and friends, we need to look at some of these less conventional choices alongside our NATO partners. We also need teams like this. Now you're looking at that, that's a U.S. Navy hospital ship. You're thinking, okay, this is going to be manned up by a lot of Navy doctors and nurses, like my son-in-law, Lieutenant Commander Dr. Scott Wallace, or my daughter, Navy nurse Julia Stavridis. No. There are Navy doctors and nurses, but there are also Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, non-governmental organizations, Operation Smile, Project Hope, Teamwork, allies, the French, the British, the Dutch, all deploy as part of this. What else can leaders do? Leaders can stay physically fit. That matters. And everything I've talked about tonight, listening better, education and reading, collaboration, innovation, fitness, all of that is undergirded by values. Our values come from the ancient Greeks, they come from the Buddha. On the right, they drop to us through the Enlightenment, they come through our founding fathers. We see them in principled leaders on the world stage like Angela Merkel of Germany. Values matter. And to illustrate values for leaders, let me show you a beautiful picture. Now you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, what a fabulous shot of a Navy crew. Someone gave this to me as a gift about 15 years ago. They said, Admiral, you're going to love this picture. It's taken in 1949, really proud Navy destroyer. And I thought, yeah, it's a great picture. Let me look closely at this. Look closely at that photo. And if you ever served in the military, you'll instantly see something kind of strange about it. Look at the front row. Those are the officers. Look at the second row in that photograph. Those are the chief petty officers. You'll see a gap on the bottom left. You see that blank spot? 3 missing chief petty officers. What military genius would set up a formation like this with 3 missing spots right in the center? So this started to drive me crazy. And I started to look really hard at this photograph. And I thought, where are those 3 missing chief petty officers? And I finally found them. And they're all the way in the back of this formation. They are 3 African-American chief petty officers. Photo taken in 1949. Now, I don't know what happened on this day, but I'll give you a highly educated guess. I would guess that the second in command of this destroyer set up the photo. He had all the officers, he had all the chiefs, he had all the sailors. Then the captain came down. We can identify the captain. He's the grumpy-looking man in the center of the formation. He's got scrambled eggs on his hat, unpleasant expression on his face. My guess is the captain came down, looked at the formation, saw 3 African Americans in the second row and said, you 3, go to the back of the formation. Stand back there with your division. 1949. African Americans were mess stewards in those days. We've come a long way. But the point I want to make is that as leaders, we should examine things closely. And sometimes something that looks terrific, maybe not so much. And second point is, ask yourself as a leader every day, what am I doing now that in 70 years is going to look oh so wrong? Good question for leaders. Good book about it, David Brooks, The Road to Character. And lastly, as I wrap up tonight, since we're in a room full of educators, I want to give you a homework assignment. Here's the good news, you don't actually have to do it. Mary Keller is not going to grade it for you. Here's a homework assignment that I recommend to anyone who aspires to be a leader. Ask yourself, who are my heroes? Who do I actually admire? We don't stop and ask ourselves that often enough, in my view. So my challenge to you is get out a piece of paper some quiet Friday night and write down 5 or 6 people you really admire. They can be national figures, they can be historical figures, they can be fictional, they can be relatives. Here's some people I really admire. That's upper left, Juan Manuel Santos, the president of Colombia, led his nation out of an insurgency. Condi Rice needs no introduction. Upper right, for the sailors in the crowd, Admiral Nimitz, greatest World War II admiral. Bottom left, Simón Bolívar. Bottom right, Michel Kwan, gold medalist. Bottom center is my father, Colonel George Stavridis, U.S. Marine Corps. Write down the names of people you admire. Right next to their names, write down, why do you admire them? Ask yourself that. I admire Nimitz because he led the greatest naval force in history through intense combat. He took command of the Pacific Fleet while it was smoking in front of him on December 9th. And yet he never raised his voice, never lost his temper. I admire that calmness and command. I admire Michelle Kwan for the dedication she showed to her craft of figure skating. And I admire my father, not because he was a combat Marine, although I admire that. I admire my father because he was a great dad. So write down those names, write down why you admire them. Here's the hard part. Go down that list and say, how am I doing? Am I as calm in crisis as Admiral Nimitz? Am I as bold in what I choose to do as Simon Bolivar? Am I as devoted to my craft, whatever it is, as Michelle Kwan? Am I as good a parent as my dad? I'm not. But by asking yourself that question, you will improve as a leader. So 2 last thoughts. One is, people ask me sometimes as a leader, how fast should you go? And the answer is pretty damn fast. So that's a cheetah. That's a cheetah. That's the fastest thing on earth. It can move from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2.5 seconds. And look at it. It's optimized for speed, right? It's got a very narrow head that's shaped like an axe that cuts down drag. It's got powerful forelegs. It has big lungs to process all that oxygen. It's got massive back legs to drive it. Whoops. Look at the tail. So if you're creating the fastest thing on Earth by evolution or creation, take your pick, why would it have a tail like that? Why doesn't it have like a little bunny tail or no tail? And the answer is because it's going so fast, so suddenly, that if it didn't have that massive tail, almost the size of its legs, to counterbalance when it turns, it would just go spinning into the undergrowth. So the answer to the question, how fast should you go, is as fast as you can. But a leader keeps an organization in balance. And it's hard. It's hard work. Leaders have to be resilient because that boulder will roll down. Know that. And last thought, as we wrap up a terrific night together, I want to show you this picture and leave you with a quote. The quote is from Napoleon. Napoleon. And, you know, I love quoting Napoleon because short people have to stick together at all times. This is a photograph of Somali migrants. They're standing on a beach in the Red Sea, and they are prosaically lifting up their cell phones. They're trying to get a better cell signal. You know, newsflash, that doesn't work. But they are desperately seeking to connect. Metaphorically, what is happening in this picture? They're reaching for the light. They want to be part of the world. They want to be part of the next step of their journey. This is a picture of hope. And the last thought I have for you, and if you remember nothing else from our evening together, but you want to be a better leader, remember this thought. Napoleon said, a leader is a dealer in hope. A leader is a dealer in hope. Good leaders listen. Good leaders educate and read. Good leaders communicate effectively. Good leaders innovate. Good leaders build teams. Good leaders have values. Those are tactics, folks. At heart, heart. A leader is a dealer in hope. Be that leader. Thank you very much.
Admiral Stavridis, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us for you taking time out of your busy schedule and being with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you would agree with me. We have before us here tonight a tremendous leader. I can tell you that as we serve together, he is one of those individuals that I always looked up to, and I always admired, and I always wanted to be like. I always wanted to just be taller. But all seriousness is that we can't thank you enough for the knowledge that you have imparted upon us, the tremendous experiences that he's had throughout his military career, but now, after that, we are better now that you've brought that knowledge to us. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now present the 2019 Lieutenant General Pete Taylor Partnership Awards of Excellence to the following organizations. Representatives of each organization will join General Fraser and Colonel Retired Jack Ballantyne on stage to receive their awards. Joining them on the stage to help present our awards this evening are two of our Student-to-Student Advisory Council members. Aubrey Thomas joins us from Falcon High School, Colorado Springs, and Daniel Ferensalmer joins us from Alamogordo High School, New Mexico. Both are leaders in their respective programs, have attended the NTS in previous years, as well as our Francis Hesselbein Student Leadership Program held annually at the United States Air Force Academy and at the United States Military Academy, West Point. Please refer to the 2019 Lieutenant General Pete Taylor Partnership of Excellence Award programs for details of each awardee. Our first award, the Recognized Individual Project Program K-12 goes to Sustainable Environment Month. This partnership includes Fort Hood, Killeen Independent School District, Gatesville Independent School District, City of Killeen, City of Gatesville, and Haynes Elementary School. Leading the way in environmental education and stewardship, this collaborative partnership between the installation, neighboring school districts, and community organizations teaches students, educators, and schools how to incorporate green practices into their daily routine. Fort Hood Earth Day hosted area students from 3rd through 5th grade and share the full environmental spectrum, which includes sustainability, conservation, recycling, pollution prevention, wildlife, archaeology, and composting. Haynes Elementary School connected with the City of Killeen to kickstart a recycling program in their school. The school-wide aluminum can drive netted almost $100 for additional environmental friendly initiatives. During the City of Gatesville's Earth Day, students from 10 5th grade classes rotated through 14 presentations on a variety of topics focusing on sustainment, recycling, and environmental science. Congratulations to Sustainable Environmental Month. The Outstanding Individual Project Program, K-12, is awarded to Norfolk Collegiate Lower School 2019 Month of the Military Child and Purple Star Celebration. The names of partners include Norfolk Collegiate Lower School, Naval Station Norfolk, Naval Air Station Oceana and Dam Neck, Naval Support Activity Hampton Roads, Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, and the Virginia Department of Education. Norfolk Collegiate Lower School's 2019 Month of the Military Child and Purple Star celebrations followed the proud tradition of honoring the important role that military children play in serving our country. Uniformed service members from several commands greeted the students as they entered the school. Red, white, and blue leis adorned the necks of military students, and purple ribbons were available for all adults. All the active duty and veteran-connected children received certificates of appreciation for their service, and deployed service members shared surprise greetings with their children. Norfolk Collegiate Lower School celebrated the distinction of earning a Purple Heart designation. The Virginia Department of Education awards this honor to military-friendly schools that have demonstrated a major commitment to students and families connected to our nation's military. Congratulations to the Norfolk Collegiate Lower School 2019 Month of the Military Child and Purple Star celebration. The recognized community partnership K through 12 is awarded to Gear Up to Lead STEM. Partners include Whiteman Air Force Base, Knob Noster Public Schools, Department of Defense Educational Activity, Northrop Grumman, Whiteman Area Leadership Council, Air Force GSC Civic Leaders Group, and Strategic Deterrent Coalition. Innovate, partner, reduce costs, move fast, and solve problems. These directives, handed down last year to all Global Strike Command installations, encourages quick and outside-the-box thinking. So when a serious safety issue arose in the cockpit of the D-2 bomber, the installation commander called to action a team of unlikely heroes, the Stealth Panther robotics students from Knob Noster High School. A mere 72 hours after receiving the mission, this team of super smart, creative teenagers delivered a 3D printed part to eliminate the safety issue. The part is now operational across the entire B-2 fleet, protecting $50 billion in Air Force assets, and for only $1.25 a copy. Activities for Gear Up to Lead STEM include expanded advanced placement courses, expanded FIRST robotics programming into the elementary and middle schools, and a robust Knob Noster Virtual Academy. Knob Noster High School is recognized by U.S. News and World Report as a top small school and top rural school in Missouri. Joining us tonight this evening is Congresswoman Vicki Hatzler, U.S. Representative for Missouri's 4th Congressional District. Congratulations to Gear Up to Lead STEM.
Adapting and improvising here. Why don't we make 2 rows? I don't want anybody to be lost in the picture, so let's have 2 rows. Let's stand up here. All right, come on, military's coming out. All right, come on. All folks in the back.
You get in front because you're short.
Less vertically challenged in the front. All right, here we go. Make sure we get it right in. Okay, come on, you're all the same community. You like each other.
We do.
Get in there. Come on.
We do.
You got it now? Great. Hey, thanks.
The recognized community partnership K through 12 award is presented to Alamogordo Public Schools and Holloman Air Force Base. This partnership includes representatives from Holloman Air Force Base, Alamogordo Public Schools, New Mexico State University Alamogordo, City of Alamogordo, Alamogordo Chamber of Commerce, Otero STEM, New Mexico Space History Museum, Alamogordo Police Department, Boys and Girls Club of Otero County, and the NMAAA. Alamogordo Public Schools and Holloman Air Force Base are proud to share the commitment to excellence. Through the Educational Partnership Agreement, more than 5,900 students benefited by the creation of the Shockwave Physics AP collaboration and supplementation of the elementary science curriculum with in-classroom STEM lessons. Special recognition for our military families was shown through the Walk a Mile in Their Shoes parade, the Adopt a Squadron program, and the Joyful Welcome Home surprise celebration for 2 young boys whose father returned home from deployment. Congratulations to Alamogordo Public Schools and Holloman Air Force Base. The Exemplary Community Partnership K through 12 is awarded to Columbus Air Force Base, the Military and School Partnership of Columbus and Lowndes County. This partnership includes Columbus Air Force Base, Lowndes County School District, Columbus Municipal School District, Mississippi School for Math and Science, Mississippi Humanities Council, and the Columbus Lowndes Chamber of Commerce. Columbus Air Force Base and the Columbus Lowndes County community recognizes the importance of education and offers county-wide support to military students. Through innovative programming, strong relationships with each of the local educational agencies, both public and private, continue to grow and flourish. Examples of this partnership in action include Pilot for a Day and W Wednesdays, designed to attract students to the field of education, and held in partnership with Mississippi University for Women's Division of Education and Outreach. Other examples include Primetime Family Reading, Honorary Commanders, a civic outreach program connecting local community leaders to Columbus Air Force Base, and Create Expo, which connected airmen with over 7,000 8th graders from 17 Northwest Mississippi counties. Congratulations to Columbus Air Force Base, the Military and School Partnership of Columbus and Lowndes County. The Exemplary Community Partnership K-12 is awarded to Breaking the Code Towards Strengthening Positive Outcomes for the Norfolk Military Community, Virginia. Representatives of this partnership include Naval Station Norfolk, Fort Story Little Creek, U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command, Camp Allen, Norfolk Public Schools, Virginia Department of Education, Tufts University, Joint Forces Staff College, the Governor's School for the Arts, City of Norfolk, NATO Community, National Council of PTA, Young Audiences of Virginia, Lincoln Family Housing Centers, Mission United at the United Way, Codiva, Slover Library, Richmond Public Library, Harris Corporation, CarMax, Kaboom, and ADP. Norfolk Public Schools is breaking the code to promote unique programs, partnerships, and community initiatives engaging teachers, parents, students, and both businesses and community organizations to strengthen positive outcomes for all military families in Norfolk. Examples of the partnership include Chat and Chew with parents, a new playground at Sewell Point Elementary School, Codiva Leadership Coaching, simulcast family code nights from the local libraries, and STEM Day at Naval Station Norfolk. Congratulations to Breaking the Code Towards Strengthening Positive Outcomes for the Norfolk Military Community, Virginia. And our final award, the Outstanding Community Partnership Award K-12, is awarded to Cannon Air Force Base, Clovis Municipal Schools, and Clovis Community, Caring, Competent, and Committed Partnership, New Mexico. The Caring, Competent, and Committed Partnership, New Mexico includes representatives from Cannon Air Force Base, Clovis Municipal Schools, Clovis Chamber of Commerce, City of Clovis, United Way of Eastern New Mexico, and the 3-7 Project. Cannon Air Force Base and Clovis Municipal Schools have created an ideal relationship between the base and local community. A multifaceted list of programs benefit not only our military students, but also enhances the lives of our community students. The partnership members' dedication creates a united environment both on and off the base. The Bounce Resiliency Program empowered students to mitigate challenges, improve interpersonal functioning, and grow positive, optimistic thinking. Juvenile Detention Center and at-risk mentoring reacclimated students into the classrooms. Teachers Understanding Deployment Operations, TUDOs, and Kids Understanding Deployment Operations, KUDOs, broadened the understanding for teachers and students as their airmen and families experience deployments. The United Way Reality Check Days created a stimulating learning experience to allow young people a chance to step into adult responsibility. Congratulations to the Cannon Air Force Base, Clovis Municipal Schools, and Clovis Community Caring, Competent, and Committed Partnership, New Mexico. Again, for more details of each awardee, please refer to your pamphlets. We'd like to see each of you apply next year for the Pete Taylor Awards. Innovation and partnerships are making a difference for our military and veteran-connected students. They are setting the example and a new standard. Let's give a final round of applause to all of our award recipients. Ladies and gentlemen, General Will Fraser.
All right. Kind of like a bad penny, I just keep turning up, right? How about one more round of applause for all of our winners? What a great job. You know, our next guest tonight is someone who cares deeply about the well-being of our military children. As the daughter of an Army officer, Kim Joyner grew up in a military family. She grew up in a military family where she experienced both the challenges and the benefits of a military life. Now she's serving as the Deputy Assistant to the Secretary of Defense for Strategic Engagement. And among her many duties, she is charged with building stronger connections between those in our military community and the Americans that we all serve. She's here tonight to talk about why this is important and how the Department of Defense's Know Your Military initiative is working to bring America closer to its military community. Let's give a warm MSEC welcome to Kim Joyner.
Thank you, General Frazier, for your kind introduction and for inviting me here today. Thank you to everyone here tonight for your dedication and commitment to the well-being of our military families. I'd like to give a special shout out to all the student-to-student members in the audience. Do we have any? Woo-hoo! Whether you're a military child yourself or a supporter and friend to the military child in your school, I want to thank you for your service. Young people like you are truly our future leaders, and our nation needs your many talents and commitments. I think the student-to-student program is exactly the kind of organization we need in our country to help connect our military members to our nation at large. So I truly commend you, military and non-military kids alike, for being such a great model for others to follow. Before I jump into my remarks, I have a favor to ask you all. If you take out your phones and open the MSEC app for the National Training Seminar and navigate to this evening's session, I'll show you a screenshot so you can see how to get there. There you will find a link to become a supporter of our Know Your Military initiative that I'll be talking about with you tonight. All I need you to do is provide an email and zip code, and then you'll receive monthly updates from us about events going on in the Department of Defense and interesting stories about the great things our people are doing. Everyone have a chance to sign up? All right. Thank you. We promise not to spam you. I look forward to continuing this conversation with all of you in the days and months to come. As General Frazier mentioned in my introduction, I grew up as a military child. My dad served in the Army throughout my childhood years, so I remember very well the sacrifices he made. And if I get emotional, just excuse me. It matters. So I remember very well the sacrifices he made to serve our country, the sacrifices my family made, the sacrifices by those surrounding us, and then by all of those who chose to raise their right hand and answer the call of duty. Like many of you, I changed schools a lot. I attended different schools, 9 different schools in 12 years, 2 high schools. Woo! And so I know how challenging it is to move homes, find new clubs and organizations to belong to, make new friends, and most importantly, missing those that you love the most. But one thing I learned along the way is that facing those challenges head on comes with benefits too. It can make you resilient, creative, adaptable, and determined in ways that people who don't grow up in the military never have a chance to learn, especially early in life. So in my case, growing up in the military family gave me a strong desire to serve others and to serve my country. Although I've never served in the military, unlike Admiral Stavridis, how incredible was he? Gosh, I got to follow him, Dr. Keller. No, it's a privilege. But I've never served in the military, but I've had many great opportunities to serve as a civil servant in several capacities in the federal government. So when I got asked to come to the Department of Defense, I jumped at the opportunity. Now I have what I think is the best job in the DOD. I get to spend every day working to tell Americans about the amazing people serving in today's armed forces and the great things they are doing to strengthen and protect our nation. I feel honored to be a part of sharing their stories with the American people, and I want to tell you why I think doing that is extremely important. For 46 years, our nation has relied on an all-volunteer force to defend America. By every measure, the all-volunteer force has been tremendously successful, and it has resulted in a nation having the best, most professional, most lethal armed forces in the world. Yeah, it's a good reason to clap. But with that unmatched success, we've seen over the years fewer and fewer people serve in the United States military. In fact, currently less than 1% of America is serving today. Less than 9% have ever served. That means that most Americans don't have a close connection to someone with firsthand knowledge who can give an accurate view of the military or correct misperceptions about military life. As a result, Americans have become increasingly disconnected from those who serve in our Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. And also, as many of you in this room know, over the years, our all-volunteer force has become more and more a family business, being handed down from generation to generation. While this is great in many respects, it also further widens the gap of understanding between those in our military community and the rest of America. And filling this gap of knowledge and experience with the military are vivid, compelling images from movies, television, video games, and even the news. So unfortunately, though these images and messages are too often only portray military service as a violent activity that will inevitably harm most people who choose to serve, while missing the truth that the vast majority of people who join the military are greatly improved by their service, and that the skills and leadership abilities they learn in the military form a foundation of success for the rest of their lives. Ultimately, these gaps in understanding and America's weakening connections with its military can erode the effectiveness of an all-volunteer force. And that is a national security issue that every American should be concerned about. Our leadership at the Department of Defense is very concerned about this, and so we started an initiative that we call Know Your Military, so that we could share stories and information with Americans to tell a more complete story about military service. We hope that by sharing these stories, we can start conversations across our nation that can help bring us closer together. So everyone, take out your phones again. I know you don't go to many speeches where people encourage you to get on your phone. Take out your phones again and do a search on hashtag #KnowYourMil, and you will see some of the examples of our stories. While you do that, I'll show you a quick example. This is Yakari. She's a military spouse, and she gives back to her community by starting a dance studio at every new base her husband is deployed to. Take a look at this quick video. So why am I telling you about this? Because we know from our DOD surveys that there are many myths people have about military life. You're not going to believe this one. Did you know, for example, that we discovered a lot of people in America don't think you could have a pet if you join the military? So raise your hands, military kids, if you have a dog, a cat, a fish, a bird, any pets? All right, turn around, you see them? As silly as that seems to all of us here, we thought it was important to share the truth about this with America. So we created this little video to inform the public about military families' pets to combat the myth. So check this one out. Unfortunately, we know that from our surveys that there are misperceptions people have about the military that are much more serious than that. For example, 25% of people think joining the military will interfere with their plans to get married. And 25% also think that if they join the military, it will interfere with their plans to have children. We also know that a lot of Americans think growing up in a highly mobile military family will make kids significantly disadvantaged compared to kids from non-military families. It's true, of course, that there are real challenges and hardships created by military life. Everyone in this room knows firsthand how this affects military children and families in so many ways. We know that military kids and families serve and make sacrifices too, and that's why everyone in the Department of Defense honors their service and works hard to support them. So it's very important that our nation has organizations like MSEC, like all of you here tonight, that raise awareness of those unique challenges and work with other organizations and with the Department of Defense to constantly look for ways to make military life easier. I like the theme of this year's National Training Seminar, Exploring Convoys of Social Support. I agree that doing this is incredibly important to ensuring that we have strong, resilient, and ready military families. But I think, and this is incredibly important, in order to fully build and sustain that convoy of support, we need to tell America as much as we can about our great military kids and families. We need to share how unique their experiences are growing up in the military, how they have prepared them to give back to society as adults who are well positioned to serve and contribute in so many ways. Let me be crystal clear about one thing tonight. A nation that understands and fully supports its military families will see a huge return on that investment. That is an incredibly important message to share. As a military kid myself, I think it's important for America to know about our amazing military children, and more importantly, to understand that raising in a family in the military is a great option to consider. I'd like to share a few more examples with you. Our friends in Fairfax County Public School System in Northern Virginia shared this story with us about a military child named Ashanti, who talks about some of the difficulties and benefits of being a military child and how those go hand in hand. Let's listen to Ashanti's experience.
My name is Ashanti, and my dad is in the Army. I was born in Hawaii, and then we moved to Maryland, and then Belgium, and then back to Hawaii, and then Texas, and then Korea, and now here. The benefits of being a military child is being able to experience different cultures and see different places that maybe other people wouldn't be able to see, because a lot of people just stay in one place their whole life. So I think that's really cool, and getting to know the culture and new people and meet people all over the world. I remember when we first moved to Korea, we had just had our stuff in the hotel, and we were walking around in Itaewon, which is a shopping area, and we were just trying different foods. And me and my dad, we've had snails and these weird I don't know what it was, but it was not that great. But it's always nice when you can do stuff like that and try stuff that's new, because it's oh, now I've done this, Some people can't say that they've done that, which is also, I guess you could say, a benefit. I think being a military child will help me in the future by just giving me a good diversity and being culturalized, because I get to experience different things. So I'm not so closed-minded, and I think that really helps you in the future if you're not if you're more an optimist, hey, I can do this, and then eventually you try and you succeed. I am military and I'm FCPS.
If there's anyone here tonight representing Fairfax County Schools, thank you for sharing Ashanti's story with us. This is exactly what I think we should all be doing. I also recently had an opportunity to visit with Shelby Barber. Shelby's father is a Marine, and she is now a college student at the University of Washington. She received several National Innovation Awards for inventing a new emergency medical device for children with severe allergies. She said her invention was inspired by her father's service, and that she was encouraged and challenged by her teacher to solve this medical problem that showed that she could help other kids like herself. She told me this: because I'm a military child, people think that I have things handed to me and assume I am emotionally distant because we move so much. I'm a valedictorian, an award winner, an innovator, a college student, an athlete, a hard worker, and often a second parent. I have friends all over the world. I am a military child, but I am so much more. So thank you, Shelby. I know, yeah. I know we'll be hearing more great things about Shelby in the future. And then finally, I had the chance to meet with an amazing military child who's with us tonight. Jaron, where are you? Wave, everybody see Jaron there? Yeah, good job. I'm sorry, Jaron. Jaron Cahaw, who speaks 5 languages, by the way, is an Army family child who's about to attend Texas A&M University to major in mechanical engineering. Jaron is a longtime member and officer in his high school student-to-student chapter, and now he has been appointed to be on MSEC's Student Advisory Council so that he can continue serving our military community and help others improve the lives of the next generation of military children. I had the privilege of being interviewed by Jaron for the MSET podcast, and I can tell you he has a very bright future ahead of him. So thanks, Jaron. I'm honored that General Fraser and Dr. Keller have asked me to speak with you tonight. I just promoted you, ma'am. I'll talk to the secretary. Thank you for having me, especially as all of you are part of the DOD community. You are our military children, their parents, teachers, and supporters. Most often in my work, I speak to audiences who are not directly connected to our community. Those are important conversations for me to have as we work to strengthen our connections with America and build bridges of understanding. But I feel very at home with you tonight, and I hope that as part of our family, you will share my belief that we can all do a better job of telling America about us. About the thousands of Ashantis, the Shelbys, and the Jarons we have in our community, and what great leaders and contributors to our society they're going to be. As you enjoy the next several days of the 21st National Training Seminar, you will discuss a lot about how we need to build convoys of support to sustain our families and ensure bright futures for our military kids. In doing so, I ask you to consider how important it is for us to show America the great value of our amazing military children, give back in return for that support, and how choosing to be a part of our military community with all its unique challenges is a great choice and a great way of life. My office and my team are working double time to help Americans everywhere get to know their military. I hope you follow along with us with the hashtag #KnowYourMil, and please feel free to use it yourself during the National Training Seminar and beyond to share your military stories. I ask you to join with us to help build and strengthen those connections, to create bridges of understanding by sharing our stories of military service, why we serve, and how our people benefit themselves and America through their service. Thank you again, General Fraser and Dr. Keller, for having me here tonight, and best wishes for all of you on a wonderful and productive National Training Seminar.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the stage General Will Fraser and the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Military Child Education Coalition, Dr. Mary Keller.
Kim, thank you very much, and I can't begin to tell you, one, thanks for your service as a military child, so you can personally understand the challenges that these young men and women are experiencing. But I also want to thank you for what you're doing for the Department of Defense. I mean, if you think about it, sometimes we're so close that we don't understand how others view us. And so as you gather more data, and you heard a couple of stories tonight, it's very important that we tell our story. It's very important that you tell your story. And so we thank you for what you're doing on a day-to-day basis to bring us closer to the American public and what we do, and especially what these kids, parents, educators, administrators all do in sacrificing every day for our military-connected kids. Thank you very much.
Hey, guess whose turn it is? Oh gosh,
we have learned so much tonight, and I'd like to thank Ms. Joyner for that. And, you know, we love research, but y'all know that about us anyway. And you know what we did with Tufts, because of one of our science board members, Dr. Rich Lerner, we got connected with their vet school, and they actually did a research project where they looked at military-connected kids who had pets, and they compared them to kids who didn't have, military kids who didn't have pets, and they found out that when they had pets, they were more resilient when their parents went through deployments and separations. So what we're saying is, go get pets right now. How many of y'all been here before? Thank you so much for coming back and just, you know, helping us get better all the time. We're just so glad. We're really so glad to have you. You know, we try to get new ideas out, and you guys help us so much. So thanks, you know, to the old friends, or I shouldn't say the old friends, to those of you that have come back again, and to our new ones. Thank you so much to the sponsors and the donors. Thank you so much for your generosity. Harriet, thank you. USAA, I mean, you know, you talk about, you know, a company that believed in us when we were like minutes old, and it was almost like, you know, believing that we could make a difference when we, you know, we're just barely started. USAA has always been with us. Thank you. Just really thank you to everyone. You know those cool bags that we got when you all checked in and you looked at, you know, the children's artwork on that? I just want to thank you, Tony Hernandez, for, you know, again, DCUC giving us those bags and allowing us this time for us to be able to put kids' artwork on that. Tony, would you just stand up and let us thank you? It's, you know, thank you so much. Thank you. That it's important, you know, and I can't tell you how excited that young man was that, you know, we were able to showcase his artwork. You never know, you know, what you can inspire in kids. And Admiral Servetus really did explain it to us. By the way, we'll post all those books on our website so you know how to get to what he put out in terms of the reading. I'd like to thank Deloitte and all the Deloitte volunteers, those kids that are in the black shirts. This is the 10th year that Deloitte employees volunteer to help us with the National Training Seminar. We don't hire anybody. And, you know, yeah. We run the National Training Seminar with the staff, with volunteers, and with great folks. So thank you to Deloitte. This year on our S2S schools, we have more than ever before. We have 50 schools representing S2S at the high school, middle school, and elementary school. They're from 10 states. Some came as far away as Germany. We have 128 students, accompanied by 49 adults, and 22 elementary student sponsors. So you're going to get a chance to meet great students, and we're so proud of those student leaders, military and civilian kids, truly making a difference in the civil society of their school. So I want to thank the Department of Defense education activity, especially just overall, y'all are fabulous partners. But you know, for the third year, Quantico High School has allowed us, in partnership with DOD's Public Affairs Office, to have cub reporters. So isn't this cool? These are kids who really are interested in journalism. So Ms. Joyner, here's some kids that could be working for y'all. And along with several other students. So you can see them, they'll be out tomorrow. If they ask you to do an interview or just talk to them, and we just so appreciate it if you would do that. And then they're going to include you in their stories, and that helps them build their resumes. So we're looking forward to the big agenda. Now, you've got like 3 different ways that you can look at the agenda. We have it in a very specific information on our website, so you can always go to that. Please use the app. I'm going to tell you more about that. And if you do some cool stuff on the app, there's a chance to be rewarded, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So the Attendify app is really cool. Did you notice on that map when you touch on the map? I mean, I just figured this out, that you touch on the map on there, that it goes right to where the activities are that day. So it's an interactive map, which is very cool. Okay, there's one other way that you can go. You have a map. So you've got this. This is how I do it, so I'm down here. And you can fold it out, and you can say to yourself, you know what, tomorrow is Wednesday. I wonder where I'm going. So it's right here, too. Now, if all else fails, go to the registration desk and tell them that you're lost, Now, when you think about where you're going tomorrow, and by the way, in the Attendify app, it has DLs. That's our shorthand for distinguished lectures. So you're going to see them on the meeting room level and the ballroom level. So, you can go upstairs one level, and that's the meeting room level. So again, they'll point you in the right directions. We have a great seminar enrichment classes. So we jumped ahead to a master class, which is Angela Duckworth, coming in the afternoon tomorrow. So you're going to have grit and persistence, and then you're also going to learn about grit and persistence, the science, from Angela Duckworth. One of our science board members, Mike Matthews, thank you, Mike, from West Point, is going to be having a conversation with her about her work. Now, it's out now so that you know that you can look at her book, you can put it on your reading list. Again, this is going to be great. First thing in the morning, we're going to have a wonderful conversation with Ellen Dunford and General Darrell Williams, on a really terrific book that's The Power of Moments, and it's about defining moments. And defining moments mean different things that you do in your life, so you want to be sure and look at that. And then next, if you go to the next slide, I think, maybe, yes, we're going to have 11:45, we're going to have Arnie Duncan, and he wants to be called Arnie. And I just can't get that out of my mouth. I mean, he's Secretary Duncan, but he said, no, to call him Arnie. So if y'all see him, I guess you call him Arnie. That's what he said. And General Dave Golfing. But, the Air Force and the other services have really taken school quality seriously. And they're saying, look, we're going to look at K-12 quality, and we're going to look at spouse employment, and we're going to think about those two things when we think about where units ought to maybe go to installations, or maybe we want to realign some things. So how do we work with the communities to understand quality? Well, Arnie Duncan's memoir really addresses so much of that as he thinks about when he was the CEO of schools in Chicago, and then he spent 7 years as the Secretary of Education. We're really pleased that our board member, Eric Waldo, will be facilitating that conversation. So that's going to be great. So we're looking forward to that. And then on Thursday, we have Dr. Toni Antonucci. She did the seminal research around the convoys of social support. And then we'll end the day with our students talking to Medal of Honor recipient Melvin Morris. Now, tomorrow afternoon, you have this really cool chance that's an option, and that is if you want to go to hear, you want to see the documentary about Mr. Rogers. And he's like the patron saint of Convoy of Social Support. If you think about it, really, his whole PBS innovations, he brought in so many people into his world. He accepted children with special needs, all kinds of things, so you'll get a chance to hear about Mr. Rogers. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was for your shopping. Now this is serious. Are y'all paying attention? Did y'all bring your credit cards? Because you're going to need them. Kendra Scott is out there, and she needs you to purchase those beautiful, beautiful pieces out there. General Fraser was very concerned to make sure that we had Kendra Scott here, and I think he's going to be leading the way because Kendra Scott's going to give 20% of what she makes back to MSEC. The other vendors and the other wonderful displays that we have and our great teams that are out there, they want you to come by and see them, including our MSEC store. And by the way, I didn't tell you that Arnie Duncan's going to be signing books after his presentation tomorrow. So his book is called How Schools Work. So the Won't You Be My Neighbor is really important, but it's also part of a whole theme here about the convoy of social support. So we know that you're a part of that, and tomorrow you're going to have a chance to memorialize yourself with your friends when you go to the Halo booth. Isn't that cool? Y'all know what that is? Well, see, we didn't know about that till HEB, which is a fabulous grocery store in Texas. We feel real sorry for y'all. There are people who don't have HEBs, and they're just fabulous. They are. And they call them Hebes if they don't know what they are. That's wrong. It's HEB, okay? All right. So we didn't even know what that was until Jack and I had a meeting in San Antonio with HEB. That's, by the way, one of our wonderful supporters. And we do a lot in San Antonio area, especially because of them. Well, anyway, they had this Halo thing, and they said, Mary, would you and Jack like to go over here to the Halo? Well, I'm all about Halos. I'm a good Catholic school girl, Well, it turns out it's the coolest thing. This is how you can memorialize yourself here. So you just kind of stand in front of this thing digitally, and then it emails it to you, and you can just put yourself out all over the world, and it just goes. You can put it on your email. You can share it. You can put it on Twitter. All that other stuff. I would be careful a little bit on that. We also have a new, this year we're pleased to have a new opportunity for you to shop from our Riveter. And these are military spouses that put a whole business, and they have been on television. They've won all kinds of things. They're terrific, but they're handmade for military fabrics and so forth. Well, what they're saying is if y'all use that Attendify app, if you like or share things, and then you get so many points, and tomorrow they're going to be putting up the leaderboard. Okay, on Thursday, the person who has the highest points on the leaderboard. So this is a competition. They're going to give them that purse that's that picture that's in your folder. So you'll get to do that, and you'll get to bring home a brand new purse that it's handmade. It's really beautiful. So be sure you do that. Now, if you haven't signed up for the Mr. Rogers documentary, you can, or you can stop by the registration desk or just go tomorrow. If you're thinking you might want to do that excursion, there's a few seats left for the night excursion, which are really, really neat. That's great. Okay, you think, I want dessert. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. I need Pam Brim to stand up, because dessert tonight, now she's not going to be delivering it to your table, so don't be expecting that, is brought to you by tutor.com. Yes. Thank you, Pam. So, and then Tutor is donating an iPad, but you're going to have to be there to win, and that's going to be on Thursday. So you have to be present to win. So you need to eat dessert tonight, and then you need to be present there at the end on Thursday, and then you might get an iPad. Now, one other thing, and then I promise you can have dessert. Okay, here's the deal. Now, those of you that have been before are going to get confused, so y'all just listen to me. Okay, are you listening? This is about breakfast. Okay, so here's the deal. You're going to have to go get your own breakfast. Now, you got that? Okay, but then we're going to keep feeding you on the day and various things, but you have to get your breakfast. Okay, now you've got options in the lobby. Okay, now if you get confused, here's pictures. this is the lobby, and here's things. And then you can pick them up. They have grab and go breakfast. And the reason that we're doing this is because a lot of y'all wanted us to start later in the morning. So we have people at 4 hotels. So you can have a grab and go breakfast, and that will be fun. Our first master class, though, starts at 8:30 sharp. So y'all need to be here 8:30 sharp, already fed, and ready to go with the power of moments. And lastly, I'd like to let you know that our student-to-student kids are located throughout the whole area, and as they're delivering dessert brought to you by Tutor.com and Pam Brim, they're going to be coming up to your table and greeting you. Would y'all please talk to our student leaders that come from all over the country and overseas when they come up to say hi to you? So we're here for 3 days for the sake of the child. Thank you. Thank y'all. We just love you. You are making a difference every day. So kids out and dessert. So thanks.